My feeling when we come into the building here is a reconnection with my family and the pole, and from what we have learned from the past and how it was taken from us. It's emotional for me and my family, and we're ever so grateful for the staff that we've connected with and the work that they've put in forward to make this right for my family. Pole, what it represents is the Smith family. It was a Smith family pole, and it stood in front of a head great chief, and that's what it represents. I didn't grow up in the village, but my Uncle John and they all grew up there, and a lot of them, they saw the pole and they had a connection way before with it, and then for it to be taken for us how it was, it was so wrong. When artifacts are taken from us, it's very sad, and for some families, you don't know if they get it back or not. The two carvers that were chosen were family, and I mean, obviously by the work was done, I mean, Tommy Hunt he's a master carver, and Bert is following his footsteps. I mean, they're two tremendous carvers, and for the work that they did, I mean, you guys all saw the shape the pole was in prior, and to look at it now, it's amazing. And I really take my hat off to the work that's been done here for the pole and the artifacts that are held here. It just, you can tell that the directors, they want to make it right. With the man on the bottom, he's holding all his treasures and his family crest on top of him, and that's what he's representing. And for the position that I hold, the chief position, that represents me. and it was great working with the museum. I think the timing couldn't have been better for us to get back what was rightfully ours. We will bless the pole in our traditional ways, and there will be some business between us and the directors here at the museum on the future for the pole.
Well, I feel it's a completion of something I had to do, because it was sort of my responsibility to do business things for the tribe. I couldn't get too attached to anything until it started to come for real, because I found out about the pole. I knew about it a long time ago, but nobody was doing anything, but because there was still this fear of government interventions and stuff, so nobody talked about it too much. My Uncle Pete used to say, "I wonder where my pole is," in our language. But there was never any doubt about the ownership of the pole. My uncle was pretty secure in that. And it was right in front of his house to boot. And we recognized that he didn't have his own son. So my father's oldest son became the next in line, which is Tuma's Omaka, his grandfather, and that's his name that was given to him when he was stood up in the big house to take over the chieftainship. And even though I'm older, it's still his right to be that. So the attachment to the pole becomes more serious for him, and rightfully so, because it's his. There was no other pole like it. It's a big pole for its time. There was other poles, but they were 16 feet. Maybe it was a very tall pole. This one was a very big pole and very special, even though it was not deeply carved. Because of Charlie James, he had a problem with one of his hands, so he went more into the painting in it, and that's why it's so articulate by paint, instead of like this. The new poles, like the eyes would be carved in totally deep and everything. Yeah, he used to tell me about some of the poles that were in the village that I didn't get to see. I mean, this is a new thing, that this pole is going to go on for forever. All the other poles used to die on their spot to be rebuilt by another pole, because it was supposed to go back to nature. Same as us, when we die, we go back to nature. So it had that kind of lifespan. For Omaha and my daughter and my sister, it increased their spirit on the cultural part of it, because they know that they have a history and a heritage that reaches back to the age of this pole, and to some of those powerful people that did some marvelous things. So it strengthens their spirit in terms of the culture, and I think it's just going to make it better, and hopefully it'll increase or give impetus for the kids to learn the language again, because that's very sad that they don't speak. I'm sad for my nephew, because he's actually my grandson too, because in their culture that's how it goes, right? They lost it somewhat, but we can try getting them to learn. It's a beautiful language, and that totem pole is going to be part of that traditional factor to bring it all together.
No,
whole idea of our family coming, squeezing tighter and holding on together, that's been important. We're showing the government that they can't get rid of us so easily. They tried hard, right in residential schools and letting people take. As much as they said, "Oh, that was illegal," they wouldn't have done too much about it. But there's a lot of carvers that love to make totem poles, but they won't be the same as. They'll never be the same as this again.